Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Wendy Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is a recurring guest, and it is my friend and colleague and fellow EO member. And I am so excited about our conversation. It's Wendy Lieber. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, thanks for having me again. And so great to see you.
Yeah, it's awesome to see you. And Wendy, let me introduce you. So you are the founder of Content Bacon.
Co-founder.
Co-founder of Content Bacon. That's right. We have to give we have to say it correctly. And so what is Content Bacon? Well, you love helping your customers tell their story. So it's basically you built a leading content resource for companies that want it done it for you. Just like we done it for you processes, you done it for you content. And I love the name Content Bacon. It's so cute. And if people have to go to your website to see the cute little how do you call them? The little animation or the illustration, right?
We just updated our website, so we're moving away from some of the cutesy as we evolve as a company. But yeah, it is a great name. Everyone loves bacon. Everyone needs bacon. Everyone needs content.
That's right. So Content Bacon, there you go. So Wendy, we were going to talk again. You and I had a conversation, or we were part of a panel and that discussed, or a roundtable, we were discussing AI and the effect of AI and marketing. And this is a topic that is very popular, and it goes all the way from the misconception or the idea, oh yeah, AI, ChatGPT will replace all marketing agencies anywhere. I can just do it myself, to no way, I'm not going to use AI. I'm going to still run my marketing agency the way it always ran. And it's my thought, and it's that and that. So, we have the pendulum on both sides, and we have a lot of confusion in between. So let's start, first of all, where do you stand in all of this, in the spectrum of AI?
Yeah. Well, it is a meaty topic. And when ChatGPT first made its, huge debut to the public, whenever that was, I guess
I think it was
two and a half.
2022. Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was an initial feeling that companies like ours might be put out of business, and that, all these different AI tools were going to do all of your marketing, all of your content for you. And we didn't necessarily see that impact right away. So our customers, because we are a done for you company, meaning we create the strategy, we create the content, we implement the content, we measure it, and then we use that to refine it. We didn't see, any impact. Where we did see the impact initially was in new business development, where people were kind of waiting to see what was going to happen, or maybe trying things themselves before they invested in an outside resource. So we found new business development to take a little bit longer during that time. And then within about 6 to 8 months, we saw the pendulum swing quite heavily, where companies that had been trying to use these various AI tools for, for their marketing kind of came running back to us like, hey, we need help. We've made a mess. Or, we're seeing all this junk content out there, and we don't want to be part of that. And that's kind of where it's been since then. I think we've seen companies really embrace AI and come up with ways to use it effectively. And then, like you said, we've seen other companies that are like, I don't want any part of this. Um, our philosophy is we're going to use whatever tool we can use to make things better effective. And I believe AI is a huge tool for that, but I think people are getting it wrong. You don't use AI to replace humans for things where connection is required. So the sales process, I know everyone's like looking to how to, do lead generation more effectively. And there are all these bots, writing content, creating, emails and things like that. I think that's the wrong place to use it because that's really where that human interaction is more valuable today than it ever was. So I think the companies that are using that, and we see it, right? Like you see
I
the
do.
content and you're just repelled by it. Like people
Right,
are,
it's the same one. I mean, I get the same, yeah, because you go,
yes,
this is like even my marketing manager, she goes, yeah, we got another one generated by AI because it's the same one. But to your point, I think let's really look at the points you brought up. So sales, for instance, lead generation, like how do I see AI can really help in lead generation is what are the strengths of a human in lead generation? The strength of a human is communication. Absolutely. So you want to talk to, like if I make calls or I write the email, it should be my email. It should be my communication. And it should be my ideas of how to communicate to someone in front of me, because I don't want a machine to communicate to me. Just like I don't want a machine to communicate to me, I want to communicate to someone else, not as a machine.
right.
However, the time that it might take me, let's say I want to reach out to you. I will have to go to your LinkedIn profile, to your website, to find out your connections, to find out maybe what you like. That AI can help significantly in terms of a research, because that's what they do
100%.
faster than the human mind. When I have that, so instead of maybe calling on 10 prospects a day, I can call on 30. So I can utilize what my strengths are. So that's why we're not going to let go of a salesman, a sales representative because of that. But those that are not productive and spend 2 hours researching, they don't have a place. So that is where the difference is going to be. So I think it's really identifying what is a human connection, what necessitates a human and what not. And then we can improve that way.
100%. And I think you nailed it. It's really determining where are the things where AI can do a better job than a human because they can do it more effectively, faster, less expensive. And I think things like research, things like, comparing documents, pulling out some key things, but you still have to read, you still have to think, you still have to innovate because if you don't do those things, then you're going to sound like everyone else and people are just going to tune out, which is what I think a lot of people have done where, a lot of people like with their email, I mean, they're just tuned out or their LinkedIn in-mail messaging, right? Because you're just getting bombarded by so much crap that when you finally do see something that is a human, you're like, oh, interesting. And even then, I'll see where the follow-up doesn't happen. And again, AI can support that and give you reminders and you can, use it to integrate to your CRM. So I think that's where people are getting it wrong is they're trying to use AI for the things where, you know, the human connection is still so important. And I would argue that it's even more important today in the companies that are doubling down on human interaction for customer support in certain areas, sales are the ones that are going to win because people are so tired of just dealing with machines and not being able to get what they want done because they're dealing with the machine that's pre-programmed. It doesn't know how to deal with this particular situation. It can be so frustrating. And I think, that human interaction, that connection, we like to say our content has soul, it has a heart. And that's because there's humans behind it, thinking, feeling, and ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what content is meant to do, is to make you feel something so that you actually want to take action. And so when content is robotic, well, that's the impact it's going to have. It's going to make you feel robotic, which means you're probably not going to do the thing that that company wants you to do because it's just robotic versus get someone to feel something, and feeling can be good or bad. It can be confrontational. It can be, in pursuit of agitating someone because you're trying to get a response, or it can be, inspirational, informative. But that's the fun of creating content is so that it gets someone to feel something.
I agree. I mean, I could have said it better. I mean, well, that's why you are here, because you said it better, but it's the soul, it's the heart, it's that communication that comes from that emotional. You want to create an emotional response, and a robot would not be able to create an emotional response. And, I know our listeners are listening to us right now, and they go, come on, I mean, I can go to ChatGPT, and I mean, I know I do it, you probably do it. I mean, we
Sure.
will craft emails using ChatGPT, we will craft content. But I know for myself, I would never let a content just, hey, write me an article on whatever you want. If I want to write something, I would ask ChatGPT to interview me and ask me, and it's my voice, it's my ideas, and then help me maybe edit it and put it together, because otherwise it's not me. But sometimes it
Yeah,
comes up with great ideas. Again, on research, let's say, for instance, my idea is that, let's say only 70% of the companies do this, this, and this. Is the research to back it up? Or what is the research on it? Or what is it? And then I can develop an idea from that. So how do you,
100%.
yeah. So what would you be your recommendation? Let's say we have an entrepreneur listening to us right now. They do use ChatGPT to write their content. They go, well, it saved me so much. Money, time, whatever.
Sure.
How can you use AI responsibly in order to generate content, but without compromising that feeling of, this is the heart and soul of my company?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to understand who your company is, why you exist, what you truly provide to your audience, what problems you solve. So really making sure you understand your company, your mission, vision, values, all of those things are so important. Developing a particular style, like some companies are very professional and they don't want to use slang language or humor, while other companies are irreverent and don't want to be too professional. So, really getting clear what your brand voice is. And those things take time and they take thought, they take contemplation. Yes, can you use ChatGPT and other tools to help guide you? But I wouldn't use those tools to answer the questions, because then who's really answering the question? And that to me is the pivot point, is who's leading who? And I believe AI is a tool that we lead, not the other way around. And I think that's extremely important for us to be responsible for, and to not get overly dependent. And I've read studies where people, this is already happening, where people are no longer thinking because they just go in. We already had that happening with Google, right? Where you'd be trying to think of something and you'd be like, let's just Google it, versus, no, give me 5 minutes to actually, clear the cobwebs from my brain and, think of this on my own. Well, that already started limiting our brain power. Well, now ChatGPT, and we keep saying ChatGPT. I mean, there's obviously all the tools.
Yeah, it's AI and
Yeah,
yeah.
all the AI tools where it's like, oh, first, rather than me think through this and then use an AI tool to help me refine it, let me just use the AI tool from the onset. And I just think that's a disservice. And I think we have to be responsible enough to not always choose the easy button. I think there's certain things that are happening in the marketing world that are in some ways great, but I don't think they're a good user experience. Like, one of my pet peeves is how all the listening devices, right? Like, you can't say something casually without, or click on something as a casual observer without being then bombarded by all the ads, right? Like, I know that that might be useful and maybe the companies doing that are making lots of money, but I don't think it's responsible. Like, I think certain things like that we should just not do, because from a user standpoint, it's just not a great user experience. So we're giving up so much freedom in pursuit of just everything being about revenue, sales. And I don't know that that's the world that most of us want to live in. And I think as entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as leaders in our community, as leaders in the world, we have to be the ones to, like, set the standard for that, and not just do everything because it might make us more money. Like, that's not always the end game. It's like, what about quality of life? What about, quality of the user experience? What about, just making sure that we're not just making things too, again, like too machine oriented, which who wants to live in that world? And so I know I'm getting maybe a little bit outside the subject matter, but I do think it's
No, but this
extremely,
is exactly the subject.
yeah,
I mean, honestly, this is the subject because that's what we want to have the discussion about is it's always the why, it's always the viewpoint behind it, it's always the purpose. It's not the, how you do that.
yeah,
So how would you be able to decide whether to use, let's say, the LLM for it or the AI for it or not is according to those principles, and what are your ethical principles in using it? And it's you driving the AI, not the AI driving you. It's what
yeah.
they can, Jeff Woods, he wrote AI driven leader, and I'm part of his collective.
Oh, cool.
Great guy, wrote a fantastic book, and it's all about what the AI can do for me. How can my AI help me? Not what can they, but it's basically, well, how can the AI help me? And that is the point: is how can I use the AI as a helper, as somebody, as something that can help me, not as something that will drive me, because then you are losing control and you are driven and not driving. And that's where we can lose control and live in a machine world.
Absolutely. And just, connecting with human beings. It's like bots talking to bots. That's essentially what's happening a lot with all of these lead gen tools, is then it's just bots talking to bots versus making that human connection. And listen, there'll be plenty of companies that make tons of money doing that. And, I certainly have my moments where I'm like, oh, am I missing out? Am I doing enough in this area? But to your point, my values are really human first. When SEO was a big thing, and I know it's, still exists, but we always would say we write for humans first, machine second. So, we were never the type of content company that would write content based on, first and foremost, it being SEO driven, because at the end of the day, I want to give value. I want to make sure that what we provide actually adds value and doesn't add more noise. And that is the balance. And it's not easy to do, but I don't care. Like that's for me, like I want to make sure we're always providing value. And part of the content game is, how do you say things differently? How do you introduce something that hasn't been introduced before? How do you, bring innovation? How do you build a better mousetrap? Which is what we're always looking to do. And if you're only using AI to do that, you're just going to regurgitate things that have already been done. Now, granted, it might provide ideas, it might spark something. So I'm not saying not to use it, but there's real value in taking a walk in nature without your device and contemplating on a particular topic and seeing what comes up naturally versus always utilizing the easy button to do that for you. And I think it's just important for us. It's important for future generations, because we have this amazing tool called a brain, an imagination, a heart.
Yeah,
And
that's our mind is like it's like what we used to imagine, to think, to create, to do.
yeah,
But use the tools. I mean, it's kind of like, it's not like where when we can using by driving and by flying, we get to places where before we couldn't. But it doesn't mean that we just let the airplane take us wherever and we don't even care.
right, right. Just don't go on autopilot. Don't get so, driven by like, oh, I gotta, AI is gonna do everything. It's like, yeah, it's probably going to be the most, innovative technology that, we've seen in our lifetime. And we've seen a lot, because our lifetime, there's been the most technological innovations. And this one is by far, and just how fast it's moving. But I also think the responsibility piece and, you know, quality of relationships, quality of everything we do. If it's not adding significant quality, then don't just do it because it's easy to do. So going back to your question about,
Mhm.
if you're like, let's say you're a newer entrepreneur and you just don't have a budget to hire, team members. Well, of course, AI can be so instrumental to scaling your business, and you should absolutely use it to that degree. But if you don't do that heavy lifting work on really deciding who you are as a company, why you exist, what your unique selling proposition is, what you want your brand to stand for. If you don't do that work, no AI is going to be able to put that story out there in a way that's compelling, because those things have to be put in place, so that you can use tools to get you different types of content to tell that story in a way that's going to resonate with your audience. So I think, it's just that balance of, being able to do the contemplation, use your imagination, create that ideal state, and then use different tools to help you get there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what would be some advice to other entrepreneurs, other leaders? You're definitely a leader in the community in terms of the marketing community, but also as an entrepreneur. Because you mentioned the word responsibility. So what do you think we can do other than, of course, we decide we use our own mind, our own imagination, our own creativity, but what can we do to influence this area where we actually can use machines, can use robots, can use AI successfully to help us, but on the other hand, also maintaining that level of ethics and responsibility?
I think it's really important to have your own internal stance on AI. We've created kind of an AI charter that really started with me and my view on it to really help our internal team understand, because I also think team members are on guard, because everyone's like got this mindset lately, like we're all going to be replaced by AI. So I think it's important to create, again, I'm calling it an AI charter, so that you can really put your beliefs down, and then you can use that to guide the organization. Now, maybe your beliefs are, we're going to use AI for everything we possibly can use it for, and we're going to replace all humans. Maybe that's your charter, but be clear about it. Like, be honest about it. And, conversely, it may be, we're going to use AI in situations where we can be better, faster, more effective. So different ways I like to look at it is, how can we use AI to increase sales? How can we use AI to decrease costs? How can we use AI to be more effective? So those are three questions that I constantly ask myself and our team, so that we can determine how these tools, and it's not like these are questions we're just asking with AI. We were always using these questions to determine our tech stack, because technology is a wonderful thing, but it can also feel quite overwhelming because there's so much technology. We're probably all, victim to spending lots on things where we're using maybe 10% of its capabilities. So I think, just getting clear on how you feel about it, how you want to use it. And that might be changing. Like, I'm just realizing with our AI charter, what we created was probably about a year ago. It's probably time for me to go back and relook at it and update it, because obviously so many things have changed. But I think as a leader, having a stance, but having it be a really truthful stance. Like, don't bullshit. Like, don't be like, oh no, we care about humans, if you don't. Like, there are going to be companies that don't. And that's, what? That's fine, but just be clear about it. So I think that's a way to get really responsible. And listen, as much as, the reason we're all in business is to make a profit, like, just be mindful of at what expense, and how far do you need to go to make that profit? And what's really important to you? And again, I think it's just getting honest with yourself about, where do you really get value? And if you want to work with machines all day and that gives you satisfaction and fulfillment, great. But if working with humans and, having connection gives you value, then, you can build your business so that it really fulfills you, which ultimately, at the end of the day, creating a business that fulfills you, adds value, is what's most important, because the money piece, to me, will always come if you add value. And to me, that's always the biggest question I ask is, am I adding value? How can I add more value? How can I be of service to my customers, to my team? And that's for me what I care about.
That's beautiful, Wendy. I mean, that's why you're so successful. That's why who you are. And I love that. I mean, that's beautiful. Beautifully said.
Well,
Well,
thank you.
yeah. If our listeners would like to know more about you and how to find you, obviously they will go to contentbacon.com
Yeah.
and LinkedIn. Tell us
Yeah,
how. Yeah.
I'm on LinkedIn, Wendy Lieber, Liber. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I'm Wendy with the Y at contentbacon.com. So I love hearing from anyone and everyone. If you have a different point of view, if you want to challenge something I said, if you want to embrace something I said, I just love hearing about it. And if you're challenged with your content game and want to brainstorm, I'm always open. I love what we do. I love helping companies tell their story and resonate more with their target audience. So feel free to connect with me.
Beautiful. Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Adi. Great to see you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.